Let me know when you're ready. Okay. All right. Good evening, I should say. I'd like to call the meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. The time is 6:25 p.m. Make note that the public record notice was given and posted at the appropriate locations. So first item is roll call. Alder Tom Smith is present. Alder Stephen Knott. Present. And Alder Dan Stevens is excused today. Also with us is Alder Diane Wolf, Chief Goody in the back, Chief Ashback. We have Amy from HR. We have Dan Wick, and we have Karen from Finance. Did I miss anybody, or is there anybody else online? Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, thank you. Item number 2, consideration and action on minutes from the previous meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay, motion by Steve, and I will second. So motion by Steve, second by Tom to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Item number 3, public input. Is there anyone who would like to speak with public input? You have 3 minutes. Please identify yourself with your name and address. And we'll start local. Is there anybody local that would like to provide public input? Is there anybody remote? Doesn't look like there's nobody remote. Okay. Second call for public input. And third and final call for public input. Okay, public input is closed, and thank you. We'll move on. Item number 4, April-May 2022 Omni Center financials. Karen, right over to you.
Not really much new to report there, just the same as we did last month. Omni's doing well. The margin just seems to be growing a little bit. So, but nothing out of the ordinary for the month of May.
Okay.
One thing I will make note of is previously we only had through April 13th, and we did reconsider that this month, and we were able to get the entire May in the notes. So we did. So this is pretty much up to date. It's all the way through May 31st.
Okay, good. And thank you for bringing that up, because we talked about that at the pre-meeting, that we know how current it is. The most current we could get, we think would be the best, if possible. It's just, I know it's a timing issue sometimes.
And I'm still fairly new to this, so question I have for you, Tom, is do you need a motion to file or a motion to approve?
A motion to file.
I will make a motion to file the April-May 2022 Omni Center financials.
And I will second that. So any discussion? Okay, motion by Steve, second by Tom to file the April-May 2022 Omni Center financials. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Well,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item number 5, the April-May 2022 general fund financials. Karen?
Yeah, and back to the same that we did for the Omni is we elected to add the entire month of May. But again, nothing that seemed out of the ordinary for the month. So pretty consistent with what we would see normally by this time of the year.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to file the April-May 2022 general fund financials.
okay, and I will second. So motion by Steve, second by Tom to file the May 2022 general fund financials. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6, approval of the Cooley Region Traffic Safety Task Force Grant. Chief, are you speaking on this one?
Yes, good evening. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, so this is our standard for the past, I guess, many years. We have participated in the state grant that we bring forward here for approval, whether it's a click it or ticket or seatbelt grant, which this one, I'm sorry, or a speed grant, which this is a speed grant that we conduct over the summer. This year it's through August, I believe. There's the typical 80-20 match, but we usually use that through fringe benefits and mileage. And so there's no additional costs that come out of the city to participate in this. And then we are eligible for some potential equipment grants where they pick drawings for all the agencies that are involved in this. So we're then in the running to possibly receive some equipment through this grant.
I'll move to approve the Cooley Region Traffic Safety Task Force grant.
And I'll second. So motion by Tom, seconded. Motion by Steve, seconded by Tom. Now discussion, Steve?
Yeah, so, and I did speak with Chief Ashbeck just prior to the meeting on this, so I understand now that this is written by the state and we really don't have an ability to change any of the verbiage. I do have some concerns on how it's written and at several locations. I'm concerned that it talks about, where we got here, increase in voluntary compliance, but it doesn't really have an education component. It really seems to me it's still about enforcement and compliance, which I have no problem with enforcement, honestly, I don't, but I'm just confused with some of how it's worded. The main thing that concerns me is when it talks about officers involved in the campaign will take a zero tolerance on the following violations, and this says speed and seatbelt is primary and additional. I did talk with Chief on it, and I think we're in agreement on how that's going to be interpreted. I'll let him speak for himself, but I don't generally like zero tolerance verbiage or policies because it removes the flexibility or the ability to have intelligence or wisdom and discretion of individuals, including in this case, police officers. In theory, zero tolerance would mean 1 mile per hour over, you're getting cited. Zero tolerance would be the woman who's going into labor on the way to the hospital and is her husband or maybe driving a little too fast to get there, is you have to stay here while I write you a ticket. And that would be my concern on how is zero tolerance by all of these participating law enforcement agencies going to be interpreted. Chief?
Yeah, thank you. We will treat this as we have all previous grants, and we've never had any issues with the state, and that is we continue to use that discretion as far as our tolerance when we first initially will stop a vehicle. What we've interpreted the grant to be is when we do decide to stop a vehicle, we essentially are encouraging our officers that we should be writing citations and not just written warnings. But ultimately, there is some discretion there, like the example you gave. If a woman is in labor, we're certainly going to, deal with that situation first and whatnot, and use that discretion there. But it's more of a tool just so officers are writing citations more so than writing warnings. The state wants us to write citations.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you, Chief.
If I had to, is that the seatbelt thing that's just going on in the campaign now? Is that part of some of this grant, or is that a different thing? There's that promotion right now for buckle up or, get ticketed. That's a grant, I assume, but it's not this one, or is that part of the same thing?
So there's funded and unfunded grants, and the seatbelt ticket or seatbelt grant was an unfunded. So we essentially participate, and that's another one where by participating, we collect our statistics and send it into the state, and then we are eligible to possibly win some equipment grants.
Okay.
This one here, and why we bring it before the council, is because it's a funded where we'll actually receive funds, we'll turn in our overtime costs, and we'll actually put officers out on overtime, as compared to the seatbelt is while they're on duty, normal duty, they're enforcing it.
Okay, thank you. We do this every year. Is this an annual thing?
Yes, yep,
This is really nothing new. It's just,
correct.
okay.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Yes, Alder Wolf.
Thank you. Chief, I just have 2 quick questions. I found my answer while looking through it again, but just to confirm, so this goes from October 1st through September 30th of next year, I've read. Is that right?
No, my understanding was it starts here in June and runs through August 30th.
Maybe I'm looking at the one that's funded grants. It's for Campbell Police Department. That's the page that I'm seeing that on.
It could be they are the lead administrator of the grant. And so that might be a reporting period.
Okay.
But my understanding, normally we go through September, but they have less funds available this year. And so I think it's just through the end of August is what Assistant Chief Berg had informed me.
Okay, and my second question then would be, does this allow us to put out any additional patrol?
Yes, this particular grant, because it's funded, we actually have signups for officers to work outside of their normal hours, basically on overtime.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 7, authorization for the police to use undesignated equipment funds for expenses from 2021 held over into 2022. Is that you, chief? Popular
All right.
tonight.
So this item, actually, we had funds for the drone. And it has actually been purchased already. We have it, but we have not started training with it because all our pilots are still going through the online training for it. But essentially what occurred is that invoice wasn't submitted before those funds that we had were expended. And so those funds got allocated into the undesignated equipment fund. So we're just asking to pull those back out of the undesignated so that we can basically pay the invoice.
Karen,
Correct.
you're nodding your head, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what happened was it did have a 2021 PO underneath it from late in the year. But unfortunately, the way, everything is right now, there's such delays in
Sure.
sending things and invoicing and that kind of thing, that by the time we received the invoice and were able to get it paid, the 2021 books were closed. Once we close the 2021 books, as you know, then any of those leftover funds from any of the departments go to the undesignated
Sure.
fund. And so basically all we're asking here is that we are able to take that money back out of the undesignated funds because he would have had the money in his budget, saved if the invoice would have been submitted during the 2021.
So it's not really any new money. It's just money that needs to get.
It was actually a donation. We received 100% of the money through a donation. So it was there. We're just kind of transferring it
Okay.
back.
Can I ask you what we're going to use it for with the drones or what do we?
Yeah, it's a combined effort between PD and fire. So we have pilots on both sides. As you can imagine, search and rescue, the stranded
That's what I
kayakers we've had over on the Cross River, looking at fire scenes, could be for surveilling or photographing evidence, crime scenes, fatalities, accident fatalities,
Be
just a
flexible
whole
for
host
anything
of
you need.
things. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the authorization for the police to use undesignated equipment funds for expenses from 2021 held over into 2022, and in this case specifically for the drone.
Okay, and I'll second that. So motion by Steve, second by Tom, to authorize the police to use the undesignated equipment funds for the expenses held over from 2021 to 2022 for the drone. Excuse me. Any discussion or any further discussion? Steve?
Yeah, so kind of along a similar vein as before, and I talked to Chief ahead of time, so I'll be asking him to make some comment at the end. I have no problem with this purchase. It's some of it's the devil's in the details. It's between balancing public safety with privacy and not wanting on Alaska to go into a culture where it's even perceived that we're becoming authoritarian. So what I'm looking for is policies that outline when and for what purposes this can be used. Understand those are still being drafted. I have no problem with training on the equipment right now, but I would ask that we do not employ that asset until such policies are written and approved, mainly so that we can alleviate any concerns by the citizenry. In any ordinance, it's not just this one, any ordinance, any policy, any decision, we really should not allow a open-ended authority that could be used or misused or misappropriated. I don't believe that Chief Ashbeck or any of his officers would, but we don't want to have policies that are based upon personalities. I don't think that's good governance, and that's where I'm going with, we really need to have a policy before this is employed. Chief?
I would agree with you 100%. I've been a huge advocate since in my time in West Salem, when we started a drone program there, and every demonstration that I would give to the public, I always made it a point to point out to them that we take the Fourth Amendment very serious and that we're not going to be, illegally searching or seizing people's properties by use of this drone. So all our flights are logged, everything about that flight. So we keep, we will be keeping immaculate records as that goes. So yes, I think it's just good practice or good policy to have a policy that details that out to protect both us and the city on those, what types of deployments we would have and the uses. So we will be, we still need to write that policy, but that was our intent anyway. So.
And will that cross both police and fire, I take it? So, yeah, I nodding back there. Yeah, chief, okay. Okay, any other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you. Item number 8, approval of request for proposal, RFP selection and associated contract for the city and the Omni branding services with Metro Agency. Ann, are you the speaker on this one, or we'll let you speak if you'd like? Sure, why not? More the merrier. You're the man.
I didn't know if Amanda was on, so I was,
Amanda's not on, so you're on.
okay, I was
Throw
desperately
you in the
sending
fire.
a few messages back there to say, is she on or not?
Oh, I'm sure you can handle it.
So, yes, so we went out to RFP for the rebrand of the Omni Center, which is the funding that is coming from La Crosse County. The city of Onalaska did allocate $25,000 to rebrand the city. So we wrote an RFP to include both the Omni Center and City Hall. We sent it out to a number of agencies. We were very happy. We had 6 agencies respond. We had staff review those. We narrowed that list down to 3. We did 3 interviews with the companies, adding a few more staff into it. And we've come to the conclusion that we would, based on the evaluations and things, to move forward with Meter, which is based here in La Crosse. So that's the recommendation that we have before you, is that we do it. It is under budget that we've allocated. We've taken a portion of the money that was allocated from La Crosse County for the actual rebrand. We've held back some of that money so that we can actually implement the things that we come through as part of the rebrand when we go through the process. So we, as staff, are looking for approval to move forward with a contract with Meter. And I believe the cost was like $64,800. But it was less than budgeted. We put in a budget 25 for City Hall and 40 for the Omni. So 65,000 was the budget number. We told them it was underneath that number.
I'll make a motion for approval of the request for proposal selection and associated contract for city and Omni branding services with Metro Agency.
And I'll second that. Motion by Tom, second by Steve. Also add that at the pre-finance committee, Amanda was there and she said that 100% from a legal perspective, it's all been reviewed. Felt really strong that this was the good recommendation from your teams, and that also being local has a lot of connections with the local community, and those are all pluses. So I know she's not on today, but she was very supportive of this too. Any other questions, Steve?
Yeah, I don't seem to have that information in my packet. I just want to make sure that the $64,800 is indeed the cost.
Yeah, I will get you that. That's why I rephrased it and said it's less than the 65,000 we have budgeted. They all came, all of them came in at that like 64,900, 64,800 price range, but I can verify that and have that information for you.
So just clarifying then that my motion is that it will not exceed 65,000 then.
Yeah,
That's, I would agree.
and I'll second that too. That we'll clarify that is not to exceed. And I know I saw a thing. It's not in here that I realized, but the thing that Amanda did have it in there was less than 65. Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Chair. So Dan, what do you, excuse me, do we anticipate that, because we typically always, as by the time we get to council, we will have a contract that we can see by Tuesday?
I will work with Amanda on that. Amanda is working on the contract documents. That's kind of her role. I know she has sent some things to Meter and back and forth with that. So I will try to touch base with her to see if we have something prior to.
I just know that I don't think we ever prove anything else. We actually have a contract in front of us. And I understand there's some things going on right now, so it may take a little while to get, but yeah, if we could have it by council, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Steve.
I'm sorry,
Good, oh, good.
do you want it to be off a consent agenda then, since we don't have the contract in
Oh,
front?
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, we would do that anyhow. Yeah.
Weird, okay,
Yeah, any contract like that, we usually do, so.
okay. And as I said, I'm still new to this committee.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, though. Yeah, usually anything like that, we always do anyhow, it's just so the council's aware of it.
Cool.
All right, well, the motion is to approve the request for the RFP for Meter, not to exceed $65,000, and proceed with that. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you, Dan. All right, personnel, item number 1, recruitment update from Human Resources. Amy?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I'm happy to report we had 2 promotions in the month of May and 1 newly hired employee. We've got our fire lieutenant position filled by Jim Netwall on May 29th, police sergeant by Joel Flatten, same day. And then our newly hired police officer, Michael Johnson, started on May 31st.
Okay, nice short list.
Absolutely.
Alder Wolf, sorry, Alder Steve.
I just want to say again, I just think it's wonderful that when an organization is doing well, that they provide opportunities for advancement internally. So it's so good to see that happening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the update. All right, and then I guess we're done. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
By Steve, seconded by Tom. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 6:47 PM. Thank you.